Full transparency, for those who are new here, I skipped ahead a few issues, maybe about 10 or 12, because I want to get to the infamous Underbase saga. So let's take a look at Marvel's Transformers issue number 47. And as we always do, creative team check. Now, as we open up the book, we see the weirdest thing ever. Starscream is dropping down in front of some family's house, and they're about to go on vacation. With Starscream. What's up with that? Apparently there's some island out in the middle of nowhere that they call Club Con, where humans are coming to vacation. Now, as we check in with the Autobots, things get interesting both as a reader and in the story, because A, Optimus Prime is here. The last I read, Optimus Prime was still unalived. And B, Fortress Maximus is here. And Fortress Maximus is apparently a headmaster that's being piloted, helped out somewhat by Spike Witwicky. We know that because he sees his brother Buster Witwicky on the TV doing ads for the Decepticon vacation island. Either way, Optimus and the Autobots want to know what's exactly going on this vacation island, and there's only one Autobot small enough in his other form to do the reconnaissance. So surprise, surprise, Blaster shows up at Sparkplug Witwicky's house, which he isn't really happy to see Blaster, because ever since the Autobots and Decepticons came to Earth, his luck has gotten worse and worse. But if Blaster can help him get Buster back, then it's worth it. But he can't go to the island. He's a little bit too mature. But Jessie, who I think is Buster's girlfriend, or was in the past, she's going to go to the island with Blaster and find out what's going on. So when Jessie arrives at the island with her radio, the plan is supposed to be for Jessie to sit there, grab a suntan, while Blaster does his recon thing. But that's not how it goes down. Jessie goes snorkeling past the barrier, and she finds out some things about the Decepticons' operations. She goes back and she tells Blaster about this underwater opening to this underground base under the island. And again, Blaster wants her to stay out of it, but she wraps Blaster up in this waterproof bag so that she can swim down to the opening and they can check things out on the inside firsthand. We catch up to Buster, and Buster lets Jessie and Blaster know the information he has about the Decepticon operations. So we end up finding out that the reason why the Decepticons have this base that looks like an island in the middle of nowhere is because they've heard tale of these two Autobots who had some information to bring to Earth, but they got knocked off course and they crashed with these pirates around the 17th or 18th century. And so they are here to find those Autobots to figure out what information they have. And although he can't leave, his information may prove to be vital. It turns out that the Seacons, these underwater Decepticons, did find the Autobots that are mysteriously shaped like tapes. But while Jessie's there, she takes the Autobots and runs. However, she does leave footprints, and Ratbat sends the Seacons after her. Eventually he gets distracted and gets caught and blasted by one of the Seacons. And as a distraction, he basically spits the Autobots back out and back into the water, because even though he doesn't have them, he does know they have important information, and he can live to go back and get back up. Transformers, issue number 48, part 2 of the Underbase saga. Let's dive in. Now in issue number 47, part 1, we found out that the Decepticons have this island that looks like a resort, but that's really a base to look for these long-lost Autobots that came down to Earth to deliver a message. They also have Buster Witwicky. They have him as the guinea pig to test out this Real Vision. Real Vision is this invention that they created that can project sight and sound, but also can extract sight and sound from the memory of other Transformers. So Commander Ratbat and Starscream begrudgingly take a look inside of these Autobots to see exactly what information they were bringing to Earth. And what they see is a vision of Cybertron long ago, before the war. What they also see is a young Optimus Prime and a group of Autobots going to visit this entity that calls itself Voltax. It is neither Autobot nor Decepticon. It is a neutral party that holds most of the knowledge on Cybertron that Optimus hopes can help him avoid the war. But he's not the only Transformer in this flashback. When they get to their location, Voltax's sentries tell Optimus to turn around along with his Autobots because violence is not welcome there, but it is dangerous to move forward. Optimus turns the rest of his Autobots around, but he wants to go forward to gain this knowledge. But Megatron doesn't exactly accept what the sentries say. It looks like every Transformer has a database encoded within them, which makes sense. But the Underbase is a collection of all that data, plus more, plus power. And all of this data and power is encoded in these beams of light, which is important. And as Megatron storms in, he blows up this encasement that Optimus Prime is in, thinking that he has killed Prime, plus gotten the Underbase for himself. But neither one is true, as Optimus climbs away from behind the smoke and fire and closes the smokestack to the tower, which basically encases this power and sends everything into overload. And while Megatron and the Decepticons retreat, there's a big explosion and a big beam of light, which is the Underbase, that shoots up into the sky, not to be seen again. Well, not to be seen until now. The two Autobots that were headed to Earth were headed to tell Optimus Prime that the Underbase is going to be in the Earth's orbit in the next week. Oh, and Buster got caught trying to escape. I guess we gotta see what happens to him, and see what happens when Decepticon turns on Decepticon for the power of the Underbase. Let's look at issue number 49 of Marvel's Transformers, part 3 of the Underbase saga. Getting to the actual story, an alarm goes off and all of the Decepticons on their base, now in Antarctica, go to see what's going on. And as Commander Ratbat's Seacons attack this ship that is landing, we find out that the ship is full of another group of Decepticons. This group is led by Commander Scorponok. And let's just say he's not happy with the welcoming party that he received from his fellow Decepticons. Later on, Ratbat and Starscream are giving Scorponok the lowdown on their human captive and how they feel about the humans and what's been going on, or at least telling them what Ratbat wants them to know. To which Scorponok counters with the fact that he, or at least his head, is humanoid, along with some of the other Decepticons he brought with them. Apparently Scorponok, much like Fortress Maximus, comes from the Headmaster series, which I'm going to have to read in the near future. Also, remember the swipe that Ratbat took at humans, because it's going to come up again. Meanwhile, in the Caribbean Sea, we have Optimus, Blaster, and Spitewick Wiki venting some of their frustrations over not being able to find Buster and the Decepticons. But this video is really about the Decepticons and their relationship, especially when Buster mentions the Underbase to Scorponok. Now Scorponok knows what the Underbase is, and he does not appreciate Ratbat or Starscream not sharing that knowledge. And between that and another personal jab from Ratbat about humans/humanoids, we are about to kick off this all-out brawl. Well, everyone except for Starscream. And when I say an all-out brawl, immediately we see the Predacons try and jump on Scorponok and his couple of emissaries. But Scorponok has a trick up his sleeve when he calls the Terracons and all of his other Decepticons off the ship and really turns this fight up to 11. And this is not just some sibling fight that's going to end up with everybody loving each other after everything's all said and done. We've got all of the Decepticons tearing each other apart, except for one, like I said, Starscream. While everyone else is fighting, Starscream has decided to enact a plan to take the Underbase for himself. He also gives Buster a beacon so he can actually alert the Autobots. And while bringing the Autobots here will be a lose-lose situation with two factions of Decepticons, he knows that letting Starscream get away is the worst outcome of all. Transformers issue 50, the conclusion to the Underbase saga. So the Underbase, this immense source of knowledge and power, has been at the center of the Decepticon goals. However, one Decepticon has put himself above the rest. That Decepticon is Starscream. He set two factions against each other, and then he left Buster Witwicky with a beacon to call the Autobots. One thing we worried about was the Decepticon factions making peace and getting back together, and as the Autobots show up, they are happy to have saved Buster, but they realize it's a trap. they didn't realize fast enough because the Decepticons are quickly on the attack. Meanwhile, Starscream has taken the only Decepticon ship available, and he is headed to intercept the Underbase and try to obtain this absolute power. Back on Earth, through nothing less than a miracle, the Autobots and Decepticons call a peace treaty because they realize what Starscream is trying to do. They fix the Decepticon headquarters into a functioning ship to try and intercept power-hungry Starscream. And while it looks like it worked, our combined Transformers had no such luck as Starscream blows up their headquarters. Optimus Prime had the Ark waiting, and they are heading back to Earth to intercept Starscream at the 3 cities that he wants to be the start of his takeover on Earth. Strap in, this is going to move pretty fast because the first team to try and attack cosmic-powered Starscream are Jetfire and the Aerobots, and let's just say only Jetfire made it out alive. Autobots such as Hound, Bluestreak, Mirage, and even Goldbug meet their end. The same goes for Blaster, who is left alone by Ratbat. Keep that in mind. The Seekers aren't safe. The Dinobots, done. The Predacons, done. Astrotrain, Blitzwing, Laserbeak, all fall. The Technobots, out of here. Terracons, out of here. Soundwave, out of here. Omega Supreme shows up. Even Omega Supreme doesn't survive cosmic power Starscream. And the only thing that saves Fortress Maximus is a transmission from Buster with Wiki and Optimus Prime that draws the attention of Starscream. Did I mention that Prime never went down to Earth? He stayed in space on the Ark, working on an idea, a last-ditch effort, until he's confronted by cowards Ratbat and Scorponok. And after dispatching Ratbat, Scorponok fights Prime in order to try to get the Underbase for himself. Only the one Transformer that wants that power more than Scorponok is Starscream, who shows up to absorb all the power of the Underbase, which we find out was Optimus Prime's plan all along, to give Starscream the entire power of the Underbase, overload Starscream, and let him destroy himself. Which is what Prime explained to Scorponok, that the true power of the Underbase can only bring madness or death. And for Starscream, it was both.